Recovery. What is it? What does it actually mean? In today's episode, I want to talk about what recovery means to me, what it actually is. Because it's not just about getting over a fear of eating or stopping destructive behaviours. To me, recovery is so much more than that. It's actually about rediscovering who you are. It's about learning to meet your needs, learning to identify your needs, realizing that you can put yourself first, noticing all the shoulds every time you think, I should do that, I shouldn't do that, and stop living by those shoulds. It's about creating a life that feels good for you, one that aligns with your authentic self. It's discovering who your authentic self really is. Recovery isn't a destination with a set end date. It's not something you just go through and then you're done. It's a journey, it's a path you walk your life down, and one that evolves as you grow. I always say that I believe recovery turns into discovery, and you learn more about yourself every single step of the way. So in this episode, I'm going to go quite deep into what recovery really is. And as you listen, I invite you to get curious. I'm going to ask you some questions. And what resonates for you? What could recovery mean for you if you let go of expectations and lean into this process with an open mind? So one of the biggest parts of recovery for me, actually they're all pretty big to be honest, but a really important part was about being important, learning that I was important, you are important. I think we all grow up thinking that if we put ourselves first, it's selfish. We kind of learn that our needs don't matter as much as everybody else's. And the eating disorder loves that. But recovery challenges that belief. It teaches you that you are important, that you have needs and they are valid, not because you've earned them or proven yourself, but just because you're human. Just by being human makes you worthy. It makes you good enough. Think about this. How often have you put your needs behind other people's? You put them first. I used to do it all the time. In everything, I would always put other people first. How does it leave you feeling when you do that? I mean, partly it felt good. It felt like I was serving other people. But the message I was sending myself was that they were all more important than me. And that's the message you're sending yourself when you prioritize other people. Imagine what your life might look like if you prioritized your own well-being. What can you do today? One small thing you can do. I mean, how often do you say yes when you really want to say no? I always said yes. I would completely change my plans to be accommodating to other people's. Even if I didn't want to do something, I would still do it because I don't know, actually, because it felt like the right thing to do, I guess. I never questioned it because I didn't know to question anything. And that's another part of recovery that is so powerful. It's asking questions and recognizing that saying no isn't selfish, it's necessary. It's a really important way of protecting your energy and showing yourself love, showing yourself that you matter. And you might not feel that you matter, and you might not feel that you can put yourself first. And the reason you don't feel that way is because you haven't ever treated yourself that way. You've always put other people's needs ahead of your own. You've said yes when you want to say no. So it's gonna feel weird to begin with. It's going to feel uncomfortable. But those feelings start to change when you take the actions to change them. What would it feel like today to say no to something that doesn't serve you? Can you think of a small boundary you can set to protect your time or energy? And another question, who taught you that putting yourself first was selfish? For me, I think honestly, just about every woman in my family, they all sacrifice themselves for other people. And I think that goes across society a lot, particularly women, men as well, but particularly women are taught that they're there to serve other people and they forget about themselves in the process. Now, I don't believe it's true anymore that to put myself first is selfish. Do you? Another thing I never did, and now I do, was embrace my feelings. Because, I mean, as you probably know, well, you pretty much definitely know, that when you're restricting your food, you're restricting your life, and very, very especially your emotions and your feelings. And so recovery is about reconnecting with those, the ones you might have spent years avoiding or suppressing. And yeah, they can be uncomfortable and even scary. But those feelings, those emotions, they're not your enemy. They're actually a signal, an alarm, a messenger telling you what you need to hear or where healing is required. And as human beings, we are meant to have emotions and feelings, and we're meant to have all of them, not just the good ones. We're meant to feel sad. We're meant to feel frustrated. We're meant to feel angry. We're meant to feel happy. We're meant to feel joy. And these emotions, I like to think of them as waves. They come, they rise, they pass. But the more we resist them, the bigger they feel. And when we allow them to wash over us, they lose their intensity and leave us with a feeling of clarity. When I didn't feel and I suppressed everything, and I actually felt like that was a superpower as well, I was kind of numb. And those feelings that I thought had gone away never went anywhere. They just were stored. Imagine a balloon, and every time you don't feel a feeling, you're putting a puff of air into the balloon. And that balloon gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually, it can't get any bigger. And all those feelings are still in there. And they have to go somewhere. They have to do something. For me, I became overwhelmed with them. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to process them. Other people can get really ill. Well, obviously, the eating disorder is an illness. But my point behind this is that feelings need to be felt, and they don't go anywhere until you feel them. Yes, you can suppress them, but they're still there. They're still waiting to be felt. So when you feel an emotion bubbling up, I invite you to pause, take a deep breath, see if you can name what you're feeling, whether it's sadness, anger, joy. Ask yourself, what is it trying to tell me? What do I need right now? If you feel angry, what do you need? Do you need to express that feeling? Do you need to write it down? Are you angry with someone? Are you angry with yourself? I wrote so many angry letters to myself, to my parents, to the world, to society. But the important thing is, as I wrote it down, I got those feelings and I expressed them. At other times, I punched my pillow, I cried, I shouted, I threw stones into the sea when nobody was in the water, obviously. It's so important to allow yourself to have these feelings and to express them. As we covered in my last episode, anger is a really, really, really important emotion that we've all been taught is wrong. But it's not wrong. We're meant to have all these feelings. So what emotions have you been avoiding and why? When you've allowed yourself to express your feelings in the past, how did it go? Are they still there? Or did you allow yourself to feel them and then they went again? What are you afraid of happening if you give yourself permission to fully feel your feelings? Have a think about that. Actually, another part of recovery is getting curious about what you're afraid of. Because we have so many fears in the eating disorder. And we just seem to, I certainly did, just say, I'm scared of that. And that means I can't do it, rather than saying why. What am I actually scared of? What is this feeling of fear trying to tell me? And what will happen if I start asking questions around it? So getting curious about your feelings, about especially fear. What was it trying to protect me from? Another part of recovery, which I struggled with actually, is the fact that it's not a destination. It is a journey. And it's not about waking up one day and everything's okay. There's no perfect end point. And it grows and changes with you. And it's about becoming more of who you truly are. For me, recovery started with the food, started with letting go of that fear over food. It started with letting go of that fear over weight gain. But as I got more and more curious about that, curious about why I needed to feel in control, why I was so afraid of gaining the weight, what I was making that mean about me. And the more questions I asked, the more I uncovered the deep fears, the fears of not being loved, the fears of not being good enough. And so it starts with the food, sure, but it grows into so much more. It became about learning what brought me joy, identifying what my values were and connecting with them, learning that I was trying to live up to what I thought other people thought I should live my life by. I mean, it wasn't even necessarily what they thought, it was what my mind told me that I thought they thought. And of course, there's all the pressure from society and stuff, and it's letting go of that pressure to live up to expectations that aren't even yours. So ask yourself, what if recovery isn't fixing yourself, but actually learning who you are and becoming more of who you already are, coming home to yourself? What have you learned about yourself so far on this journey? And if you stop focusing on the destination, but actually embrace the process, how would your recovery change? If you allow yourself to grow and evolve at your own pace without judgment, would that change the way you approach recovery? So I briefly mentioned a minute ago, but let's talk about the body. For me, probably you, the relationship with your body has been built on distrust and control. But the truth is, your body isn't the enemy. Your body can't actually lie to you. Your body is your greatest ally. And all your body really wants is to keep you alive and well. First of all, your body's primary goal is survival. But the next thing, when your body feels safe, is she wants you to feel great. And when you stop ignoring your body's signals and stop fighting against your body and start listening and trusting what your body is telling you, feeding your body when she's hungry, resting when she's tired, treating your body with care, not punishment, you start to feel so much better. You start to connect more with your body. It's funny because we all seem to believe our thoughts, and those thoughts mostly aren't actually even ours originally. They're from everything we've ever experienced in our life. They're from our parents, our friends, our teachers, our bosses, social media. Our thoughts actually can't really be trusted. And a lot of them are completely random. And you get to choose which thoughts feel good and which thoughts don't. But your body, you can always trust what your body tells you. So what is your body asking for right now? Do you need to rest? Do you need to eat? Do you need to just stop judging her? What would it look like for you to trust your body today? If your body could talk to you, what do you think it would say? Because now I've managed to learn and trust my body, and my body trusts me. All I have to do is listen, and it becomes quite effortless. It's when I get stuck in my mind, full of those thoughts, some helpful, some not so much, that things become more difficult. But being present and listening to your body and being the observer of your thoughts rather than believing all your thoughts. You don't have to believe every thought that pops into your head. You get to decide which thoughts are worth your energy and which thoughts to let go of. What unhelpful thoughts have you been holding on to? What would happen if you let them go? How do you think your life would change if you focused on thoughts that uplifted and supported you and aligned with the life that you want to live, the one you want to create? Another thing that I learned in recovery is to stop wanting everything, to stop wanting to be this, wanting to do that, wanting to feel this, and actually noticing what I've already got and feeling grateful. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools there are, because gratitude takes your focus from what's missing to what you've actually already got in your life, what's abundant. And when you notice that, when you think, oh, I've got somewhere really comfortable to sit, or I slept well last night, or I have people in my life that I really value, I have clothes to wear. For me, walking my dogs, having my dogs, enjoying stroking them, enjoying being in nature, fills me with so much gratitude. And when you combine gratitude with joy, you create space for so much more goodness. And when you're noticing what you've got and what brings you joy and what you're grateful for, you start finding more things that light you up. And you can start giving them to yourself without that guilt, because as we discussed before, you've stopped self-sacrificing and putting everyone else first. You started to notice that you have worth and that you are enough, not because of what you achieve or how you look, but simply because you exist. So I've got some questions for you. What's one thing you're grateful for today? And why? Why does it matter to you? What brings you joy? How can you give yourself more joy? Or how can you give yourself the things that bring you joy today? What would it feel like to believe deep down that you are already enough? So here's a challenge. After this episode, take a moment to write down 3 things you love about yourself. Not for what you've achieved, but simply for who you are. And I invite you to do that every day. And the more you focus on what you love, the more of it you get. Recovery isn't about being perfect. It's not about following a set rule, a set guideline. It's about being real, your messy, imperfect, real self. It's not expecting perfection. It's reconnecting with yourself, building a life that feels good, that feels peaceful, and walking that path as your most authentic self. Honestly, so little of it is about the food. Recovery is learning and growing and just becoming a higher version of yourself. So I've just got a few questions to leave you with at the end of this episode. Have you learned anything about yourself during this episode? What would it look like to live a life that truly feels like yours? Not it, a life without the shoulds. And what steps will you take today to start living that life? I'd love to hear your reflections. Share them with me, send me a message, or just take some time to sit with them. That's okay too. Because recovery is your journey. And right now, you're exactly where you need to be. And I am sending you all so much love and freedom as you take this journey. And I'm here for you. So until next time, take care of yourself. And know that you are so, so worthy. You are absolutely good enough. And you deserve all the good things life has to offer. Take care.